Pulmonary stenosis. Introduction. The pulmonary valve found between the right ventricle and the pulmonary artery, and it has three leaflets that function like it's a one-way door and allowing blood flow forward to the from right ventricle. The blood actually flows to the pulmonary artery and it never come back to the right ventricle. What is pulmonary stenosis? Pulmonary stenosis is an obstruction of the blood flow from the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery, and it may result from narrowing, that is stenosis. Due to stenosis, there will be a narrowing of artery at several points or near the pulmonary valve. And it also classified according to where it's located and the severity of the defect, and it's classified into three types. First one is valvular pulmonary stenosis is the most common. Here the pulmonary valve looks like a dome shaped and the opening will be completely narrow, and the leaflets, if you are seeing, it will be fused together, and due to the narrowing the leaflets will be very thick, and we even call it as a dysplastic valve, and it can occur alone or with any other congenital heart defect. The heart defect like tetralogy of Fallot or any corrected transposition of great arteries, or even maybe also be a part of genetic syndrome or a Noonan syndrome. And this Noonan syndrome is nothing but it's a genetic disorder that will prevent a normal development in various parts of the body, and this type of people, they usually have an unusual facial characteristics, short stature and heart defects, and maybe having other health problems. When the muscle under the pulmonary valve is thickened, we will call a subvalvular pulmonary stenosis, and this mainly caused by additional muscle bundles in the right ventricle. Coming to the supravalvular stenosis occurs, there is narrowing of the pulmonary artery above the pulmonary wall, and it will be more than one areas of narrowing, and mainly this will be seen with the genetic syndrome such as Williams or Alagille syndrome. So Williams syndrome is this is also on a genetic condition, and it will be characterized by there will be a distinct facial appearance. And this is here mainly we will be finding there will be a missing chromosome. In Williams syndrome there will be a missing chromosome. What causes pulmonary stenosis? So mainly it is congenital pulmonary stenosis occurs due to improper development of pulmonary valve, that will be first 8 weeks of fetal growth, and it can be caused by more factors, and some congenital defects may be having a genetic link occurring due to defect in the gene, or even a chromosomal abnormality or environmental exposure, and may be caused due to any other heart problem in the families. Coming to the pathophysiology, here the right ventricular pressure increases because of obstruction of blood flow from the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery. So normally what is happening in the physiology, from the right ventricle the blood will be pushing to the pulmonary artery to the lungs for purification. So here what is happening, due to the stenosed or narrowing in the pulmonary artery, the blood will be pushing back to the right ventricle. So what is happening, the right ventricle is getting overloaded and the right ventricle is hypertrophy and the right ventricle goes to failure. And as a result, there will be a decreased amount of blood flow is able to get to the lungs. Only little amount of blood will be flowing to the lungs, and which will be causing increased exertion, may result in cyanosis. What are the symptoms of pulmonary stenosis? So here, because the patient will not be getting adequate amount of blood for the lungs, for the normal pumping, so what is happening, there will be a rapid breathing, shortness of breath, fatigue, rapid heart rate, and due to the result of right ventricular failure, right ventricular hypertrophy, there will be swelling in the feet, ankles, face, eyelids or abdomen. How is pulmonary stenosis diagnosed? So here mainly we will be start with the physical examination, listen the heart and lung sound, and that is the main diagnosis we will be here. That is, we will be hearing a murmur in the heart. That is, the quality will be loudness and it will be a harsh or blowing sound. That is the initial finding we will be making for pulmonary stenosis. Other diagnostic test, chest X-ray. So since the patient is having right ventricular enlargement, right ventricular hypertrophy will be there, and right ventricular enlargement we can visualize in X-ray. And electrocardiography, the electrical activity of the heart shows abnormal rhythms. That right ventricle axis deviation we will be seeing, which will be looking like arrhythmic. And echocardiogram, it's a procedure, non-invasive procedure. Here we will be assessing the function of the heart by using sound waves recorded on electric sensor. That here mainly we will see the regional wall motion abnormalities, and each structure of the heart can be visualized by having the echocardiogram. Coming to the cardiac catheterization, it's an invasive procedure. Here we will be puncturing the radial or brachial artery, and here we will be inserting a catheter and visualizing the chambers, and we can also measure the pressure readings of each chambers can be evaluated. Management, first management, balloon dilation or valvuloplasty. So since the pulmonary artery is stenosed, our main goal is to dilate the pulmonary artery in order to maintain the normal blood supply to the lungs. Here we will be inserting a catheter. That is, a small flexible tube is inserted into a blood vessel in the femoral vessel, through the femoral vessel, and it will be guided inside the heart, and it will be having a deflated balloon at the tip of the tube. And once it is placed in the pulmonary artery, that we will be started inflating with the three-way manifold, so that the area will be started stretching and it will started opening, and there will be enough blood will be pumping through the pulmonary artery to the lungs. And the next one is valvectomy. It's a surgical removal of the valve and the widening of the outflow patch to improve blood flow. So where exactly the stenosis area, that area we have to measure it. The stenosis area has to outflow, widen. That stenosis area will be widened in order to outflow patch to improve blood flow from right ventricle to into the pulmonary artery. And the pulmonary valve replacement is the most common minimally invasive procedure. That is the replacement of the valve, and it will also be guided as a catheter in the heart from an incision in the groin or chest. We will have to take incision after giving an anesthesia, and once in position, when in position, a replacement pulmonary valve is placed within the failing pulmonary valve, and the stenosed valve will be removed, and the new valve will be replaced instead of stenosed valve. Coming to the nursing diagnosis, the first one is decreased cardiac output related to structural factors of congenital heart defect, evidenced by widened pulse, pressure, ECG changes, arrhythmias, and heart movement. And here the nursing intervention, we have to measure the heart rate and blood pressure, and note the skin color, temperature and moisture. The patient will be looking as cyanosed, and the saturation will be low and the respiration rate will be high, and check for peripheral pulses including capillary refill. The normal capillary refill is less than 3 seconds, and assess for reports of fatigue and reduced activity tolerance, and inspect the fluid balance and weight gain, weigh patient regularly prior to breakfast, because since the patient has a right ventricular failure, there will be a prompt increase in weight due to the ankle edema. So daily we are supposed to check the weight in order to find out whether there is any weight gain, and strictly we should maintain the intake and output chart in order to maintain the normal fluid balance. And here the main indication we have seen that while auscultating the heart and chest, we will be hearing an abnormal heart sound, that is the murmur, that is the S3 and S4 sound. And monitor electrocardiogram. Here we will be monitoring the rate, rhythm and ectopic. There may be a right ventricular axis deviation, and there may be a chance of developing an ectopic beats, and provide adequate bed rest and position in semi-Fowler's position, administer oxygen as prescribed by the doctors and as titrate as per the saturation level of the patient, and administer medications as prescribed by the doctor. Mainly digoxin we will be giving, that is digitalis, to improve the cardiac output. So when we are giving digoxin, we should monitor the heart rate. If it's above 60 beats per minute, we will be giving the digoxin. And alprostadil, that will be sedation, and furosemide, it's a loop diuretic to improve the so in case that the patient will be having a fluid overload, to maintain the normal fluid balance, we will be giving the tab Lasix, that is furosemide. And here the nurse's responsibility that the patient is receiving the Lasix for continuously. There may be a drop in potassium levels, so in case that the patient is receiving furosemide for a long time, better we have to monitor the potassium level at least once in 3 days. Then second nursing diagnosis, activity intolerance related to generalized weakness, imbalance between oxygen supply and demand, possibly evidenced by presence of circulatory respiratory problem, verbal complaint of fatigue or weakness, needs to rest after short period of play. And coming to the nursing intervention, here we should assess the level of fatigue, ability to perform activities of daily living and other activities, and here we should also assess the severity of dyspnea on exertion and any skin color changes, whether there is any sign of cyanosis, or whenever the patient is developing dyspnea even at rest or even at the time of exertion. And allow for rest periods between care, and in case make the patient to take rest unless if you are in a need, never disturb the patient. And provide neutral environmental temperature and inform activity of exercise restriction. So here we should insist the patient should not do vigorous exercise, and always set to limits for exercise and activity.